Shanghai for decades. This city symbolized China's miracle, a showcase of prosperity and the busiest metro system in the country. But in 2025, the unthinkable happened. The Shanghai Metro, the most untouchable state-owned enterprise with the highest ridership and strongest fiscal subsidies, quietly laid off 2,000 workers. And when the iron rice ball of a metro job shatters, you know this isn't just a company problem. It is a symptom of China's economic freefall. 2,000 employees gone in the first wave. Almost all middle-aged, in their 40s and 50s. Station masters, train drivers, maintenance crews, people who had devoted their entire lives to the subway system, keeping Shanghai's trains moving. And suddenly, one day, they just got a cold notice. Those who should leave, please leave. Those who should retire, please retire. The severance packages sound big on paper. A station master with 30 years of service, about 60,000 USD. A train driver with 25 years, about 45,000 USD. A technician with 20 years, 30,000 USD. Sounds generous, right? Well, in Shanghai, this golden handshake isn't even enough to cover 3 years of living expenses, let alone decades of mortgage payments, car loans, tuition, and elderly care. One laid off employee said it bluntly. If the severance package can last 3 years, that would be great. That is not retirement. That is basic survival we're talking about. And here's the cruelest part. Middle-aged workers in China have almost zero chance of re-employment. The internet tech companies, they don't want you. Manufacturing is laying people off. Foreign firms, they're leaving China in droves. So what is left? Food delivery, ride-hailing. So after decades in a stable, state-owned job, you're suddenly hustling 12 hours a day to make 5,000 yuan a month. Barely enough to cover mortgage interest, let alone raise a family as a 40 or 50 something year old. That severance package, it looks like a cushion, but it's really a time bomb. Once 50% is gone, your anxiety just starts to swallow the entire household. The Chinese government claims that unemployment is only 5.1%, but my estimate is that it is closer to 15% this year. And for middle-aged workers, the re-employment rate is below 20%. Even worse than the mass layoffs of 1998. Back then, China was still growing, still building, still joining the WTO. There were factories and construction sites hungry for labor. Today, real estate is collapsing. Foreign trade is shrinking. Industries are relocating overseas. There's no backup plan. And ridership tells the same story. Shanghai's morning rush hour has 1/3 fewer passengers than before COVID. And look at the shopping malls. Only milk tea and fried skewers have lines. Steakhouses and sushi places empty. That is consumption downgrade right in front of your eyes. And that's bust a myth about the Chinese model that most foreigners don't know. Subways in China were never profitable. Beijing lost 21 billion yuan in 1 year. Shenzhen, 33 billion. Qingdao, 8.8 billion. Chengdu, 7 billion. And the total subway debt in China, more than 4.7 trillion yuan. And Shanghai's infamous Line 19 cost 2 billion yuan per kilometer in terms of construction cost. 2 billion. The only way they ever hoped to make that money back was through subway plus real estate. Raise land values near the stations and then cash out on land sales. But, real estate has collapsed. Land transfer fees have halved since 2021. So that lifeline is gone. So the subway system, once 面子工程, right, the political face project of every city, is now a money-eating beast. And when the government can't feed the beast, it bites its own workers. And here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about Shanghai Metro. It's really a vicious cycle strangling the entire Chinese economy. First, consumption falls, and then the subway ridership drops. So subway loses money, and then layoffs and wage cuts, and then the household income shrinks, which leads to consumption falling even further. And on top of that, you still have to pay Social Security yourself, even if you are unemployed. In Shanghai, the flexible employment insurance cost about 4,000 USD a year. And over 5 years, that eats up almost 30% of your severance package. So you see, there's this chronic strangulation, even if you are unemployed. And the future, even worse. By 2028, Shanghai plans to automate several subway lines. So no drivers, fewer station attendants, fewer maintenance workers. Today, 2,000 jobs gone. Tomorrow, 20,000. And you multiply that by Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Chengdu, etc. We're staring at mass layoffs nationwide. The so-called iron rice balls, 铁饭碗, are turning into paper plates. And don't think it stops at subways. As we discussed before, the high-speed rail is losing money massively. Bus companies are cutting shifts. Even state-owned power and water utilities are downsizing. So you see, the entire middle class is collapsing. And the mortgages, the elderly care, tuitions, they're all crushed under the weight of unemployment. Now, let's zoom out. Why did Shanghai Metro collapse in the first place? Well, because the fiscal transmission train in China is broken. Think about it. For years, subways were built not for passengers, but for politics. Every new mayor wanted new subway lines built, during their tenure as proof of their achievements. So local governments borrowed trillions, betting they would recover the cost by selling the land near the stations. Land finance was the engine. But by 2024, land sale revenue collapsed, okay, from 8.7 trillion yuan in 2021 to just 4.3 trillion. That's almost cut in half. At the same time, local government debt ballooned to over 40 trillion yuan on the books, and close to 90 trillion if you count all the hidden off the balance sheet debt. So now, when the subway bleeds money, there's no government bailout left. The government are broke too. So you see, Beijing squeezes local governments. The local governments squeeze state-owned companies. And these companies squeeze their workers. That is the real chain reaction. And this isn't just a public transit issue. It's the entire Chinese growth model unraveling. The subway miracle was really just a debt-filled illusion tied to real estate. And once real estate implodes, this whole facade just comes crashing down. Because again, remember, subways in China were not built for riders. They were built for land sales. The trains were just an excuse to jack up the property values above ground. No passengers, no profits, no future. Back in 1998, people said, laid off women sell breakfast, laid off men drive taxis. But at least they had somewhere to go. Like I said, China still had growth engines, real estate, exports, WTO entry. Workers could at least find new opportunities back then. In 2025, the options are food delivery and despair. Shanghai Metro layoffs are not just a company crisis. They are a mirror of China's entire economy.